Hi there, welcome to another Evan Writes Cars video review. This is Evan. Today we are driving the Lexus RC350 F-Sport. This car is Lexus's answer to the BMW 4 Series or the Mercedes C-Class. You know, it's your compact but mid-size on the outside, premium luxury sports coupe. In this case, emphasis on the coupe, emphasis on the luxury, not a lot of emphasis on the sport. This is a car that if you liked the mid-90s Thunderbird, if you liked the Monte Carlo but thought it needed to be a little bit nicer, then this is probably a car that you're going to like. This is a car that has very aggressive looks. It looks very sporty. It looks the business, but it drives more like your personal luxury coupe from the 90s, with some modern refinement tacked onto it. The 350 all-wheel drive gets Toyota's 3.5 liter V6, makes 307 horsepower. 0 to 60 feels slower than it is. This does not feel like a quick car. It's 307 horsepower, but it's also 4,000 pounds, which means that there's a lot of car to move around. The all-wheel drive system puts down the power well, but it feels its weight. This car has 4 different modes for the suspension, the transmission, the steering. The first is normal. In normal mode, the transmission has no idea what to do. It is never in the right gear. It's always hunting up or down or around. It's just late. It just doesn't know what's going on. In Eco, the throttle response is slowed and the transmission response is slowed. So it doesn't know what it's doing, but at least it just doesn't do anything. It's not hunting around because it just doesn't shift for a very long time. You know, a big mash of the throttle might get a downshift for you, but it's not really moving through the gears. Sport mode turns the ride into... it makes the ride bouncy. There's no better way to put it. It doesn't feel... you know, it's not jarring over bumps, but what happens is when you hit a bump or you hit a series of bumps, it feels like you're being launched off the other side. The car just springs right off of them. Also in sport mode, the throttle response quickens up, the steering gets a little heavier, and the best part, it gets louder. The Lexus has active sound control, which means fake noise, but it has a little volume knob on your left. You can actually turn it up or turn it down, but sport mode turns it up a little bit all by itself, so the total you get is louder than full volume and normal. Normally I'm not a big fan of active sound, but in this case the Lexus sounds really good. One of its better features is the way it sounds in sport mode with the volume cranked up. Sport Plus, once you get it in Sport Plus, it kind of starts to wake up a little bit. The throttle response, it gets a little quicker again. The shifting gets a little quicker. It holds gears, so it might keep you at a higher RPM than you want, so it can be a little loud, but it's not hunting around for gears. It makes up its mind finally and does something. It even will downshift when you're braking heavily. Sport Plus finally fixes the damping. It puts it in a setting where it's not bouncing you off of bumps. It's still firm, but it's not uncomfortably firm. It's a little bit bouncy if you get into some really rough pavement. But Sport Plus is where the damping finally works and finally feels sporty, we'll say, rather than feeling like a cushy luxury cruiser, which really is more the intent of this car. So the base RC350 gets power tilt and power telescoping steering wheel, heated steering wheel, ventilated leather seats, perforated leather, heated seats. It gets navigation, which is nice to have as a standard. It also gets rear-view camera, blind spot monitoring, that kind of stuff. This car has the F-Sport package, F-Sport 2, which means that it gets a 17-speaker Mark Levinson stereo, which sounds amazing. And it gets the rest of the safety equipment. It gets radar cruise control, it gets, all that kind of stuff. That was this active collision warning, just telling me to stop. I'm not really sure why. There wasn't anything there. I guess I'll check the video later and see. This car is difficult to get in and out of. It's got a higher roofline than some of the competition, most of the competition. But it's also got a really high sill and a really wide sill, which means that the actual entrance, the actual door opening is quite small. It can make it fairly difficult to climb in and out of. We'll test out the active sound control and drop a few gears here. So that is on full. So it's on full now. Then I'm going to turn it down. Definitely noticeable. On. Off. And you can pick whatever volume you want in between as well. Because of the transmission in this car, because this car is always hunting for gears, even in Sport Plus, it's better, but still not great. I found myself using the manual mode in this car more than any other car. Normally, I try out manual mode just to see, test functionality, see how it works, and then leave it in drive. In this car, I'm spending most of my time, even in town, in manual mode, which really speaks to the shift programming. It's one of those things that can use a little bit of work. The navigation system in this car uses Lexus's. It's like the little mouse pad on your laptop down here by the cup holder. So you mouse around with your finger, you pick the buttons to pick what you want to do. There's a little cursor, you mouse over it, you tap it takes you to the various features. It also makes a clicking that you can feel when it goes over a feature, so that you know you're on the right spot in the menu. I spent quite a few hours trying to get used to the system, but still, it's difficult to use. It's without looking, it's very difficult to get the cursor in the spot that you want. And if there's any bumps at all on the road, it just bumps you, and you move your finger and you go to the next spot. There's no touch screen on the navigation system. It's probably too far away to reach anyway. So this is what you have to use. There's a few redundant buttons. There's a button for volume, there's a button for tuning, but you have to get to the radio, which can be quite complicated in order to tune it. And that infotainment system comes standard on this car, so there's not really a way to get the base system and avoid it. Now, it may be something that eventually get used to and get more comfortable with using, but I would say at about 10 hours at this point, I'm still having trouble using it. One neat feature that I'm going to try and add into the video here is the gauge cluster. Actually, it's all digital, but there's still a ring bezel for the tach. What that means is that, well, what Lexus has done is taken advantage of that, and they actually make the bezel motorized. So when you push the information button to get more information about range, temperature, navigation on the dash screen, the entire bezel shifts to the right. So the tach is now over to your right. You push the button again, the tach comes back to the left. It's actually quite neat to watch, and you know, it makes for a much nicer looking gauge cluster when you're not using the feature. When you want the information, it still looks good. It just looks better with the tach front and center. The handling of this car, it does feel, like I said, it feels its weight. It's a heavy car. It's got a fairly big footprint for being small inside. And when you drive it, you can feel it at very low speeds. This may be related to the all-wheel drive system, but at very low speeds, you can actually kind of hear the tires scrubbing in a sharp turn, like when you're turning in a parking lot. You can feel the tires scrub, whether it's from the all-wheel drive, whether it's from the tires rubbing. I can't imagine the rubbing, but that's almost what it feels like. But this car is definitely, despite the aggressive looks, is much happier just cruising around. It's much happier on a drive to the beach or cruising to the drive-in restaurant than it is tearing up a back road or, you know, blasting through a canyon. This is the kind of car that is for cruising in. This is not a car for driving. If you want to drive, take a look at a 4 Series. If you want to cruise, you know, you take a look at something like this. If you want to cruise with a very aggressive look, this is your answer. Now, the car I've got is in creamsicle orange. It is a very bright, very loud orange. This is definitely a car that is going to get you seen in, and it's probably, I would say I've gotten more looks and more thumbs up in this car than anything else I've driven this year. Which doesn't include a lot. It would include the Golf. You know, the other notable ones would be the fairly plain-looking Golf R or the MX-5. But this car definitely gets a lot of looks, it gets a lot of thumbs up. It is a very good-looking car. It does come in other colors. If you want something a little more subdued, you can get blue or white or whatever. But if you want to be seen, this is a very good choice. So the 2016 Lexus RC350 F-Sport. It's a luxury cruiser for people who want aggressive styling, an amazing sound, and a cushy ride, not a stiff ride. It's very good at doing those things. My only real criticisms would be the infotainment system, and I find the transmission floats around. The transmission won't make up its mind, and the ride can be a little bit springy at times. Other than that, you know, it's a pretty good car. Thanks for watching. If you liked my video, please hit like at the bottom or subscribe. Check out my other car reviews. There should be new ones almost weekly, along with autocross videos, maybe an occasional lapping day video, or just other videos that I find interesting to make about cars. Thanks for watching. See you next time.